Alright guys, as promised, here is Stormworks. This is the third Stormworks video I have done. And this is one of my friend's ships. This is a ship that was built by Jesse Gillette, a YouTuber who I met in Chattanooga, and the YouTuber I collaborate with. Only this is what it looked like after I made a ton of improvements to it. I just basically refit the whole thing, top to bottom. In fact, I'm going to show you what the original ship looked like, and I'd have to find a way to get rid of this lag. Hey, Kevin. Mary Ballon, how are you? First time I've seen you in one of my streams. How are you doing, madam? Yeah, guys, we hit 1,000 as soon after that stream ended. Yeah, that's not to be shown yet, so we don't talk about that. Yeah, and here's the, well, where is the Edisto? Oh, that's why I never subscribed to it. Okay, that's not what I needed. Oh my gosh. I don't know if headaches cause you to breathe heavy, but I'm breathing heavy. I've been breathing heavy since I got this headache, which worries me. Calm down, calm down. Okay, so he's into Stormworks. That explains why he and I were able to talk just yet. Okay. Forgive me, y'all. I'm worried I might be sick. I'm worried I might be sick with something. I hope I'm not sick because, frankly, I cannot afford to miss school. I kid you not. I cannot afford to miss it. Let's see here. There's the Darien. Let's see here. Thanks, Zire. Thanks, Mary. Tell me, how many of y'all have ever just had sort of, a kind of nostalgia kind of moment? I'm just curious. Like where you revisit, say, for instance, a TV show you watched as a child or something like that. I'm just curious. Has any of y'all ever done that? Have any of y'all ever had a sort of thing like that? Spaceballs RV. Yeah, but I was just curious because, a few years ago after I entered my teen years, I went back and, well, I know this would be embarrassing for most people, but yeah, there was a few shows I remembered from my childhood that I revisited a little bit, but not the whole thing. It was just some of the things I remembered from very early on. And, it felt good being able to revisit my childhood once in a while. You know what? Even if it's just for one day. You know what? It's not much, but I was just curious. I haven't done it again in almost 3 years, so yeah, the thought just came to me now. I'm just curious. Oh, dang. Well, I hope you feel better, Mary. And I may have to actually restart Stormworks. I know, right? But I'm not talking about YouTube. I'm saying, like, television in general, back when it was actually good. And I'm going to have to restart Stormworks because the model is not there. Oh. And also, I shaved after I'd gotten before I got out of the shower, I shaved. Oh, hello, Jesse. How you doing, sir? That was on my computer background one day when I first booted it up. Calm down, Mary. I'm getting it restarted. Oh, God. Oh, God. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just... I'm feeling terrible. Wait, I wondered, is there any glare with the lights off? Oh, God. I normally don't game with the lights off. I don't do that because of the computer. I've never done that with the computer. Oh God. Well, if it makes it so that you don't see me, that's, I guess, okay. Y'all let me know if y'all want me to make a server so y'all can join. I don't know if any of y'all have Stormworks, but... Rousey, what's up? Did I say that right? Did I just get that completely screwed up? Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. The screen is blurry, and it annoys the living hell out of me. Excuse my language. Pardon my language, y'all, but it annoys the hell out of me when it blurs like that. It really does, and I don't like it. And I don't have a way to live stream the gameplay. I know Jesse gave me let me have OBS, but the problem is it lags so bad that I can't, that the game is unplayable, even when everything's on minimum settings. I could try it so that it's far away, but I just have to zoom in. Let me try that and see what it manages. There we go. It's not much, but it's an improvement. There we go. It's an improvement. Sorry if it's not much, but it's enough. It's probably going to make it to where I can't sleep tonight, but you know what? Forget it. Alright, so I present to you guys the MS Edisto. The ship was built by my friend Jesse Gillette, and I actually have refitted the thing. Now, I'll go into more detail on it once I show you the old model and what it looked like, because you'll see. I did not know that, but knowing how some idiots are in politics, I wouldn't be surprised if they managed to succeed in getting rid of them. Yeah, that's not to be released yet, so we don't talk about that. Where the hell is the Edisto? I must be blind. I must be honestly blind if I can't find that ship. Ah, there it is. Yeah, that was me too, Kevin. I grew up watching Thomas and Friends, but it was old. It was a much older series. It was much older. Like, I remember growing up back when when I was born in 2000, and then we were still, you remember, that was back in the day when we still had VHS tapes and VCRs. I grew up around that stuff, and I remember watching, I remember watching the show, like, episodes of the show that were released on VHS, and it was the 80s era version, mind you, back when they actually still used the models. But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for helping my channel hit 1,000. But yeah, guys, major shout out to Jesse Gillette. He's the guy who made it, that video, who helped me put that video together commemorating my grandmother and I's first trip together back in 2008. He helped me with that video. I just filmed it and got the audio and took the photographs. It's thanks to Jesse that video is even as presentable as it is. So it really would not have been on YouTube if it was. It really would not be on YouTube if it wasn't for him. So Jesse, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. But now I present to you the MS Edisto, his version of the ship. Now I'm doing this as a comparison. Oh, hello, Conrail guy, or Norfolk Southern 8114. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Rousey, Rosie, I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind. I don't know why you're doing question marks, but yeah. Normally, I do not, like I said, I normally don't do this with lights off, because for one thing, I can't bloody see. And the other thing is I'm blind. Yeah, I remember when they still sold the VHS tapes that's where they had the wooden models of the characters with them. Yeah, I remember him. He released the Graniteville, South Carolina train collision that shut the mill there down. But yeah, I remember that. I remember having the VHS tapes that actually had the old wooden models that were actually hand painted. You can't find those anymore, and I really regret actually getting rid of them now, because I think they're probably, last I heard, I think they were worth money now, I think. I probably wouldn't have actually donated them. I gave them to one of my stepdad's friend's kids, but years ago. But, oh well. Yeah, and it spewed chlorine gas everywhere and killed 9 people and shut the mill down. But here's the bridge of the MS Edisto, Jesse's version. As you can see, there's only 3 buttons in this version. It's not painted, the windows aren't painted, the doors aren't centered, etc., etc., etc. But, yeah. I'm going to take you just through a walkthrough, and I want you guys to take note of what's here, or not here on the old version of the ship. Here's the storage locker. The door leading into this area is not here on this model. On the refitted version, I took these stairs out, and I pretty much rebuilt all of this so I could cover it in glass. Now coming in here, we got that, but I'll come back to that later. Removed this bench and built another one here out to the side. This actually no longer looks as large and as long as this. All my graphics are at minimal, that's why it's not lagging. Here there's not any winches, nor does the railing continue all the way around the stern. On the refitted version I made, I painted these lights, painted the helipad circle, the inside of it, to dark green. There's a railing that goes around the ship. There's 2 more of those winches on this side. This all has glass and lighting. Now here's the dining area. This is pretty much unchanged except for the fact that I painted all of this stuff white. Like everywhere where it's gray is actually painted white. This is painted a vibrant orange. The tables have chairs in front of them and their own separate lamps. There's a clock. That clock I moved to the center of the china cabinet. It has its own backlight button there. I added 6 more lights. There's now 6 lights in the side here. I say 6 because I added 3 on each side. 2 more on each side. There's a door leading onto the bow there. The bow is painted and streamlined. The whole ship's hull is streamlined. There's actually a well deck railing that goes alongside the bow. There's a ladder here so that this whole stairwell was ripped out. I painted all this a sort of turquoise color. The outer hull was, I think, a darker turquoise. The inside was a lighter turquoise color. I don't know where you're smelling bleach from, but it's not from me. Now, here we have the ship's laundry room. This is practically unchanged, except for the fact that I've painted all this here. Now, here's the cabins. Now, here's how Jesse had them, okay? Now, don't go hating on him, okay? Don't go hating on my friend. He knows how to build a good ship. Heck, I wouldn't even be able to build a ship. I can do interior design. That's what I'm good at when it comes to these ships. He can build them, and I can modernize, and I can pretty much refit them. But that's if I have something that I can improve on and have as a sort of blank slate, like this much of a blank slate. Because see, well, at least all I'm going to say is don't drink it. That's bad. But yeah, basically what I did with each cabin is I moved the beds to where they're on either side of the wall, and I centered the doors to where I'd have more room. I removed these shelves. I shrunk these down. And I put a shelf in between the beds with a clock, a lamp, and a shelf above them. And then I put in paint blocks and painted a flat screen TV on. And in the shelf, I put a remote control and a TV guide. And then along the side, I put an extra shelf. And with one cabin, I actually put a little like cabinet or cupboard alongside, whatever you want to call it. But on here, the cabins are the same. Now, on my refitted version, you could go back here, and that would take you to the hospital and the library. That's not the case on this version of the ship. Because, well, there is no hospital, then there is no library. I'll sync the refitted version. It actually has a far more... It has a lot more to work with here. Now we're down below and entering into the galley. Pretty much unchanged. All I did was I swapped these around, so the cold and hot sign are swapped around to where the hot's on the left, the cold's on the right. I added more lights. I took that out and painted I built a little wall there and painted it white, or gray rather. I built a shelf here. Now this is where I'd have the most change. I made this have a lot more detail. A lot more detail. I added 2 salt and pepper jars, and I added a salt grinder as well as a pepper grinder. And I made the cutting board, and I had the prep table really prepping stuff. I kid you not. But overall, that's all I had to do to change the kitchen up to make it more presentable. I'm worried I'm going to hit R and then hit... Which I just did. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let me respawn the ship in. This is why I don't do this at night, with all the lights off. It's fine. Well, the thing is, also, this sucker's a single screw ship and a single ruddered ship. There's only one propeller and one rudder, and it doesn't turn. I know, but it's not lagging for me. I think that's just due to the internet connection for the stream. No, originally, when I first started live streaming with this phone, it would let me know if the stream quality was good or bad. I'm tempted to get a dang flashlight, but I don't have one. And actually, is the brightness down? Whoa! Okay. What the heck did I just do here? Oh! SS Graffiti, anyone? Did I just put... Oh god, I put confetti everywhere. Okay, this is actually cool, but I don't know what the heck I just did. Oh god! What have I done? What have I done? I'm hitting, I think, FN, and then hitting F1. Or that's not F1, F2. And then I'm doing this. What is this? What the freak? Okay, then. Well, I don't know if this is considered an acid trip or what, but what the heck is this? What? What is this? Oh, Houston, I broke the game. I broke the game. I finally gotten to where I can now say, as Spammers would say, I broke the game. I broke the game. Oh my god, I broke the game. What is that button? I can't find the button now. Well, shoot. Where's the button? Well, this is weird. Oh, Houston. How about no, dang it? I will pass. I don't take free handouts. I work for them. Oh my god. Oh man. Well, I found an Easter egg, all right. Well then, this is interesting. I don't want to be inappropriate, but it's the SS Gaiety. I'm kidding. I don't have anything against anybody who's gay, but I mean, what the heck happened here? I think the painter was either under the influence or he really was not doing his job. What do you think? What do you think? This actually is the first thing that's made me laugh all day. This is too dang funny. This is absolute. The engine! The engine's a block! Oh my god, this is too damn funny. This is just too damn funny. I'm dead serious. This is the funniest thing I've seen so far today. When you go on an acid trip, but the ship is actually the acid trip and not the whatever you're doing. Okay, let me get this off. I'm gonna go insane looking at that. Now we're in the Matrix. Okay, now we're in the Matrix. Wonderful. But yeah, in the stern here, I had a door. I put a door in and added 3 hatches, 2 on the sides and 1 right in the back, midship, right in the center. And I completely changed the ship's propeller number. I put 4 propellers on a single screw ship with 3 rudders to boot. It's faster and it actually can turn visibly. Here's the area where the library and the hospital would have been. There would have been a bulkhead running right down the middle with just a hallway in the front, in the middle. Now, below deck, you have your dried goods, you've got your refrigerated goods on this side, your dry goods there, and I actually separated it off so that you also have a freezer. Now that's where the bow scuttle is right here. There's the hatch for it right there. And then you go in here and this takes you into the forward ballast compartment, and I put a hatch in here so that when water floods that compartment, it floods up into the hold, out that door, and then into this area of the ship, which actually gets destroyed. So yeah, that's Jesse's version. Let's see mine, shall we? Hey, Acid Studios. The ship of the Broom. Now, Jesse let me re-upload his model after I refit it. Now the changes are apparent, and they're actually noticeable. In the bow, I've added 2 hatches to flood the bow's ballast compartment on either side. You can see there's the dried goods, and here's the freezer, and I added the vents that actually would help freeze stuff. Then the whole other side is the refrigeration compartment. Here's the galley with an actual prep table and actual shelving with salt and pepper and whatnot. You've got yourself your, let me hit the eraser. You've got your tongs there, you've got your bread knife there, and you've got your butcher's knives, and you've got a rack of ribs right there, yum. You've got your breakfast plate, your dinner plate. Yes, that's a rib. Those are some ribs. Don't laugh. You got your greens, some rolls. You've got some waffles, some bacon and eggs. You've got some chopped greens there with some sliced tomatoes. You got some peppers. You got some broccoli, squash, asparagus, onions, and some garlic. And you've got all the various knives needed to cut all that. You've got salt. You got pepper. You've got the salt grinder and pepper. You've got the salt and pepper grinders. And bear in mind, I hand painted these. So it's custom. I didn't go off another image. The only thing I copied was this, and I just sort of parodied it with the colors. There's the cabinet I put in. Changed the hot and cold sun. There's that. And I actually did add another light, but it's in here where I put 2 more. I painted this white. Now here's the engine room. I gave the engine room a proper circuit breaker panel. And these levers are geared to the gauges. And they also have it so when you press the button to get the lower deck lights on, they light the gauges up. Moving forward, or excuse me, aft, we now have a door leading into the stern ballast compartment. And here's the sinking hatches. Here, here, and here. And I'm using the eraser to highlight everything. Now the stern. I can't tell you how many times I've read this thing. There's 4 propellers, not 3, because there's 2 on the center shaft, and then there's 2 outer ones. And let's just say for a minute that they're geared on the inside, so these shafts are geared to the main shaft. Now I took a bit of artistic license here, because look at this. Look at this here. I want you guys to see this. That's a custom casing I built. It's streamlined. I've streamlined it to where, as well as the hull is also streamlined. Don't ask me how long it, don't even begin to ask me how long it took for that. I built the railing up on the stern, added windows. Now you can see I've streamlined all of this, mind you. The hull is streamlined all the way around. I lowered the ladder, raised the anti-fouling level, so this is the accurate water line here where the green line is. Put glass up there. Oh, and you know what? I'll just show all this to you when we spawn this in and get it moving. Because I have found this sucker lags a lot because of everything I put into it, so I'm going to get it out to sea. In fact, I want to give it a live sea trial testing. That's why I've actually spawned it in the first place. So I'm sorry, Jesse, that you're unable to talk right now. Yeah. What do you mean? You mean this game? No. It lags. It only lagged because we didn't know that the minute reducing some of the settings and the resolution actually lowered the lag. So, yeah. Now I'm going to turn this up so you guys can actually see everything. Turn that up. Turn that up. Now, as you can see, I like that I chose this turquoise color because it almost looks like the ship has a different paint shade of it as the day goes on. I kid you not. It gets darker as it gets to look closer to evening. And yeah, I painted the windows too. I wanted every one of them to have a brass sort of color. Now, here's the ship's water line. As you can see, it's literally the water line. Now, forgive me, it's hard for me to do this at night with no lights on. But now you can see the changes on deck. There's now 4 winches, and these are to mainly hold a helicopter down. I've painted the bottom of the lights, so they're the same color as the deck. Painted the inside of the helipad. And now here's the most change for this. I completely rebuilt this to accommodate this glass design because a lot of the back part was off center, and my OCD kicked in, and I was like, okay, I need to make this centered. So I've rebuilt the tables. That's the only new one I added. And keep in mind, the windows are custom. These are all my own custom designs for the glass paneling. So if Jesse and I were able to build another ship, I'm thinking of making this be a promenade design for the windows. Well, this is the first time I've ever actually done a proper tour of the ship. I was hoping Jesse and I could record a video on it together, but he did a time-lapse of the edit stove for me. So, you know, that I guess sort of defeated the purpose, as will this. Yeah, I think he's referring to our obnoxious Doberman, Thor. Yeah, that we have a Doberman. Oh, also, I found a really neat light text color. Let me turn this to night. Now, it will lag when I do this, so I can't keep the lights on forever. Oh, and I made these have a reference to Titanic with the curved edges on its well deck at the bow and stern. But I find that if I just push this button here, custom light color, and I loved it because of its ambiance. It had an older style to it. Plus, I liked how it looked with the glass. It's pretty. Wouldn't you all agree? I don't want to upset y'all, but I normally don't accept friend requests on Roblox. It's not that I don't want to, it's just there's just not a lot. I don't have I'll say this. Look up YTP Spaceballs. You know that movie that was made in 1986? It was a parody of pretty much every sci-fi movie to date at that time. Trust me, it's hilarious. Now here's the dining area / lounge. I'm kind of thinking I should make a version with just where this can be a lounge. Like, let's just say all the tables can be taken apart and the chairs can be set up and you can have a stage here. Now here's the clock, and I'll turn this off so you can tonight so you can see the backlight. Now there's the clock. There's the backlight. Now this is the clock design is based off the SS or the MV Sudbrook, which was built by GB Danny in 96. Or is it 95? I can't remember. Forgive me. Oh, hey, Jesse, you're playing Stormworks. But yeah, I did make a few changes, though. I made the actual weight in the middle have a... I did that to make it as if it would have been, you know, the kind of circular weight or pendulum that, you know, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. With Austin Powers as, it's basically a film where Austin Powers plays Darth Vader and John Candy plays Chewbacca. But yeah, as you can tell, and here's why I put these lights in, and this is why I love this custom color. It's the same as the wall color there. Look at this ambiance. Now, as you can see, this reduces the lag, because if all the lights are on, even out at the open sea, the game lags. Now, here's where the stairwell used to be. Now there's a hatch that goes below deck. And here's where you can actually go out onto the well deck. Or at the bow, rather. And now, I have built all this, and don't even ask me how long it took for me to get this all built. But I love this, because not only does it light the dining area up, it also gives the bridge a bit of light, too, which would be accurate. It's not a ship based on class. If you go on my Steam page, there's a fictional history that I typed up myself concerning the ship's history. I'm not mad, I'm just letting you know that I did. It was actually one I wrote for Jesse's version, but it's applied to this one as well. You weren't bragging, and I'm not mad. Now, let me get it back to daytime so I can actually give you a proper tour of this sucker. Zzz. There we go, that's better. Now I can actually see what the heck I'm doing. This sucker is also properly ballasted too, which I should mention that. Now let's see if I can find the F button key and not the R key. There we go, that's a good start. Now there's the storage locker. Now as you can see, I also added a wind vane up there and 2 horns, both pretty much colored as black brass. Now the sides have only firefighting gear. That wasn't enough to satisfy me safety-wise, because there's no lifeboats, and I figured, well, firefighting gear does not work, and I'm not sinking the Titanic on this thing because it's too big and it would crash my computer and my game. So in here I've added diving equipment and scuba gear. So, yeah. I've been trying to find a way to add lifeboats to this thing. Unfortunately, I don't know how to. I have some in the game. People on Steam who already have major experience with this know how to add 2 models in, but I don't know how to. But now here's the bridge. Now take a moment and remember how much I changed this, what it used to look like. This is completely different. For one thing, I centered the bridge doors, so when you come out here and look at them from the bridge wing, they're centered with the wheelhouse. Coming into here, I've given this sucker one heck of a control panel for you guys to fiddle with. You've got, and this is an optional sinking method. You've got the bow scuttle on the left, which is in dark red, and you've got the stern scuttle on the right in a light red tint. And you can also use the bow cargo hatches in a rough weather. You can open the bow cargo hatches and just sink the ship that way. You have the start engine button there. You've got the bow cargo hatch button there. You've got the upper deck lights, which is the dining area / lounge. You have the lights for the helipad. You've got the navigation lights. You've got the bridge display backlights, which is the clock, the compass, and these two gauges. You've got this button here for the horn. You've got your throttle, which I've moved away from the helm to make it more like a ship's telegraph. And you've got the nameplate lights for the ship, and you've got the bridge lights, which is the newest button. And this is to just light the bridge up. And then you've got your wind direction and wind speed, which pretty much is very unrealistic because I'm terrible at, because I have no clue how to make this say northwest, northeast, etc. because I have no clue in terms of how to make that work, so don't judge me. Now for some cinematic shots, which I will probably not even bother photographing, just because why the heck not? Oh my god, yes, okay. I like how this looks now. This looks nice. Oh, that looks cool. The reason I got this custom colored lights is because it reminded me of the early ships from like the 1900s where, you know, they had the old, like, I guess, Edison style bulbs. I don't think they would have had Edison bulbs, but they probably would have had something similar since some ships would have had electricity. Oh, look. Time is just going by rapidly. It's listing, and that's due to the turning. That's due to all three of the rudders activating. Now here, there's these two center screw propellers there, and then you see the other two on the right connected to the rudders, which are all hard over, mind you. There we go. Now you guys can actually see this. I really don't do any of this here, but now you can see, here's the rudders turning hard to port. I say that and I'm probably acting like an idiot now. I'm pretty sure everyone on the lower decks are going like, what the heck is going on? Don't worry, people. This is totally normal. It's okay. But yeah, you can see the ship has already turned fairly quickly. So the ship has two engines. They're both back to back. And also, let's see this sucker in some serious weather. Wind at 100. And this thing has survived a few tsunamis, I should mention. I'm just saying. I know, I lied. I haven't tested that yet. Oh well, it'll handle it. It can handle it. Now this is how one way you can actually sink the ship. Turn it head on into the waves and just let her fly. Now, if those hatches were open right now, this ship would be in serious trouble. But yeah, also, concerning little details, well, there's no water line. The anti-fouling doesn't go up to the actual water line of the ship. There's no nameplate on the bow, nor are there lights in the front. Well, the two that were there, but I added a third one. And that would have been enough to damage the windows and the rest of the ship in general. But now you can see the glass design a bit better. Take note of how I tried to curve it, make it look like it curved around the funnel. I hope one day Jesse and I build a ship where I can actually include those designs in it and just a huge skylight. Now that would be neat. Oh, that would look so pretty. Oh, we're airborne. Wonderful. Flying ship! Now that you've seen this sucker going through the weather, now I'm going to end that weather. Oh, look, the storm just passed. Yay! Oh, and the horn works. Now, I will sink this sucker, I should mention. And yeah, I replaced the stairwell here with a ladder, so you can actually get up and down now. I gave the superstructure externally and internally a full white paint job because I didn't know that it was gray. So yeah, there's a tip for you, Jesse. Make your ships actually be white. Now here's the light turquoise color that I mentioned. Now, these are the only cabins I haven't updated on the ship. All I did was change the beds and the windows. That was it. And the bulkheads, so you could actually get out of them. But in terms of the little details like shelving, that's just not going to be added in due to the space. There's no windows on the original model because we couldn't figure out where the water line was. But after I figured it out, I was like, okay. And so I added the windows in. Now on to the cabins. And also, I don't know how this glitch keeps happening, so don't question me on it. They all have what looks to be air conditioning. Here's the shelving, here's the beds, here's this, here's that. Very pretty. Now here's your TV. Unfortunately, it doesn't work because, well, we don't have cable, and we don't have TVI here yet, so don't blame me on that, because that is not the... I'm just the who put them in. I didn't do that, so yeah. Now, I hand-painted those each. Each TV I hand-painted, so I didn't copy them. I don't know how to copy and paste stuff on here yet. Here's the one with the cupboard there. And then the other two cabins are just pretty much self-explanatory. They're the same. Now, here's where you can go to the library. Ship's library. And then there's where you can go to the infirmary. And I'm going to turn the brightness down just a bit so you can actually see the lettering. Thanks, Acid Studios. Now, there's actually two rooms on here. There's the infirmary, which is basically the medical stores. Well, not the medical stores. You've got the sick bay, and you've got where when you walk in, you have the shelving here, and then you have a cabinet where all the medical supplies and stuff would be stored. This would have the current medicines that are needed for the moment, like, say, boning to help with seasickness. Then you have the infirmary. Now, here's something interesting. For the operating light, I was going to use a searchlight, which would have been a far more accurate representation of what they would have over an operating table. But due to me not being able to figure out how to control it with a lever, it just spun in circles, so I had to remove it and replace it with this. But it still gets the job done. See? Then you have your two medical beds here, so it can sit 3 patients. And then you have your sickbay lights here. The Red Cross is also on either side of the door, so yeah, which I just shut on myself. Wonderful. Only difference here is I've painted the outside turquoise, and I put this arrow to let you know where it is, so it's a bit more self-explanatory. Now, onto the ship's library. I hand-painted all these books, so they're custom. These aren't based off of real ones. We have a few exceptions, though. For instance, there you've got a Bible, and then there you've got a dictionary. You've got a novel set there. That's fictional, literally, because I don't think there would be any that exist. But here is one that's a reference to both me and my grandmother. I have a World Book Encyclopedia set. I do have National Geographic books, both here and at my grandmother's. And this here at the bottom is a shout out to my grandmother's friend, Miss Gail, because she likes Time magazine, and well, as y'all know, the wording on the side is white and black, so I figured why not. You also have a table here that's flushed with the curvature of the stern. And these are reading lights here. I put reading lights. And then here you've got the rest of the books here on the shelves. So, yeah. Then you have another corridor, this corridor here, which is unobstructed because the cabins only come out one way. So if this thing were sinking, you don't have to go far for an exit. You just gotta put your back into it if you're wanting to climb. So, yeah. So now going down, this is the only stairwell even still on the ship. And I just now realized that is not centered with the other light. Oh well. It's probably because the door isn't centered. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, the door leading to the engine room on the original Edisto is centered. So when you walk in, bam, you get hit and probably killed by the engine. So I changed that. Now here's the engine room. Now watch the gauges. I'm actually going to have to turn these off. I have to turn it at night for this. Well, I thought they lit up. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, I added more lights in the engine room so you could actually see what you were doing. But all the gauges are interactive. They don't do anything to help with the power ratio, but you know, why not? Sorry if it's not the most interesting stream, y'all. I apologize, but I figured if I kept putting this off, I would forget. Now we're in the galley. In other words, the ship's kitchen. You've got yourself a sink, your dishwasher, your cabinet. Then this is a shout out to my grandmother, Ella B. This is a wine cellar / wine rack. And I say shout out because whenever she's traveled in Europe or anywhere, she's always drank wine, the local wine, to fit in with the culture. Just to add to the experience. Then you've got a china cabinet. You've got a shelf it there for like food trays and whatnot. You've got a tank there to power the stove, which is a custom design. And then here is the prep table that I showed you earlier. Moving forward. Now I will sink this thing. I will say that. You've got your freezer there. Now that sucker floods quickly, as does this, if you keep the doors shut. So I'm going to open these and prep the ship for sinking. Because usually if I can keep this whole area sealed up, these two compartments sealed, this ship doesn't sink that quickly if you sink it from the bow. But y'all are welcome to share the stream if you want to. Oh, and also I added these lights up here. There's 4 lights, 2 in the center, 2 farther away. But I usually wait to flood the kitchen, but this time I'm going to make an exception to that. I'm thinking of letting this whole area flood first, so I'm going to keep that door shut, let it fill up, and you guys will see the chaos as it unfolds live. So, let's do it! And I'm leaving this door open too. I'll only open the cabins once water floods in, starts flooding this deck. So all told, there is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cabins. 6 for crew. 4 for passengers, but they're both, all 4 cabins are double bunked. So that means there's 8, I think, room for quite a lot of people for a fairly small ship. Now, I made this little ladder up here so that way you wouldn't fall back down into the lower deck. So let's kill the engines and let's sink this sucker. Now, it's going to be gradual. It's just going to take hours to sink, I'm afraid. So, but I'll be here. Oh, look, a wind turbine. suddenly, it was at this moment, suddenly, bad weather struck. It was then suddenly, oh God, the seas are getting rough. And then the engines die. Oh God. Then, this is fast. Oh God! It was at this moment things really got bad. So let's just say I just don't know what the heck just happened. The storm subsides hours later. I have no clue what's happened. But all I know is just that the ship is damaged, so I'm opening up the storage locker here for the emergency gear. Who all is even still in the stream? It says there's 2 people watching, but I don't know if that's the people who are actively watching or have just simply not said anything. So then I open the storage locker and then I go down below to check the damage, which really will not look really pretty. Now, I'm really sorry that this is not exactly a professional setup. It's the best I can do. Because, frankly, it doesn't matter what recording software I have. It's not going to keep the game from lagging, unfortunately. Thank you, Kevin. Now, here's why I put this hatch in the there. It's so that down there can flood up here. Now, that is going to start visibly rising, and I'll keep it here so you guys can see it rising. Actually, forgive me, I'm going to go there, because there's where the freezers go flooding, and that is rapidly taking on water. As you can just see there, it just already started flooding up to the grates there. Now, when I open that door and seal the kitchen off, that's going to be when the whole corridor floods. Now, as you can see, if I open this, the bow is flooding. If I shut it and seal this off and open this compartment, water's going to start spewing everywhere. Because this is completely full. I'm going to go in and let you see just how quickly the water will rise, as well as how fast it drops. To see, look how fast it's dropping. Look at that. Watch the button. Now what's going to happen is it's going to flood that corridor there and the water pressure will equalize. See? Water's now flooding in on the doors there, and now there's the water coming in. Water's still dropping. Now, this will continue to drop until the water in the cat hallway there equalizes with the water in here that's flooding in here. Because in real life, water would actually be pouring in here. It wouldn't be spraying in like you see there. Although that's what happens when water sprays against the ribs of the ship, which is accurate if it's a small, like sort of gash in the hull. But if it's like a pre-made cut, in real life, a hole that size would have water, a jet of water just really, it'd be like, you know, a stream of water coming out of a garden hose without a nozzle. It'd be like that, but much, much bigger and with a lot more water. But now, as you can see, this whole hallway is flooding rapidly and the water is equalizing. The depth is equalizing with the level of the water inside there. So this is continuing to drop, I think. can see, this side is completely flooded right now. In fact, you can actually see the water visibly starting to rise slowly. And then it's flooding the dried goods, which are now actually rather wet, mind you. Kind of ironic since the dry goods are now getting soaked. So it's not going to be wet. It's more like wet goods now. Refrigerator is pretty much thawing. I'll just say they'll have plenty of cold water to drink. Freezer, oh good lord, the stuff is thawed. Yeah, there's nothing we can do there. Now I'm going to shut this and seal myself inside. I'm going to let you see just how fast this sucker, the water in here rises. It goes, and it rises fast. Just watch. You'll see what I mean. Heck, you can see there, look. You see the water rising? It's visibly rising on screen right now. I can see it with my own eyes. Oh, better yet, here, let's just watch the button. Watch how fast the water fills. From the bottom of my computer screen to the button. Now you look at this. This is how quickly it's rising. Now I'm starting to float. If that gives you any idea. Now watch the button there. I'm not clicking it, but now you can see the water's rising rapidly. So I've hit the ceiling now, and there's the button. Now going underwater. So now water is rapidly filling this compartment, which would be accurate. If you can keep the door watertight, which really in real life it probably wouldn't be, so it would have probably failed. So at this point, at this time, even if there wasn't any water, this much water in the freezer compartment, the door leading to the main corridor would have already failed because of the force that the water would be exerting on it. Hello, Ethan, Mary. Now here goes the freezer grates. Now there goes the refrigeration unit there, which would have kept the stuff frozen. And now if you were trapped in here, you were pretty much dead because, yeah, this is literally touching the ceiling. Water's about to touch the ceiling right now. So the room is completely flooded. Now, if this were in real life, the water would have pretty much burst through the doorway, probably even blown the door right off its hinges. Now, say the door fails. Now water is going to start cascading in here and flooding this whole hallway here. And that's exactly what this is doing. It's flooding this and equalizing. Rather rapidly, too, I should say. Visibly, even. So the dry goods, the water is flooding in at an equal pace as the outside here. And take note, we're now also developing a bow down list. It's noticeable. Now watch this. Now that's completely flooded. So now, as you can see, this is has flooded rapidly. So now, as I said in the description I wrote for this boat, if you open this door, the water's just going to go back and back and back and back, and that's not going to be able to be stopped. Now, at this point, the water will then flood the galley, flood out, and then start to flood this area here slowly. And take note of this. The wind is off. Let's just say if you were a passenger and saw this out your window, you'd be pretty terrified. What would you think? Well, it's a good thing it's sinking at the daytime and in the Mediterranean, basically, so that's a plus. I'll try and come down here for as long as I can. And I will say, though, once this cargo hold floods, once this area, that floods completely, the water will shoot up through that hatch and start flooding the cargo hold. I did it deliberately to sink the ship. Now, as you can see, that is a problem. Water's now already flooding the well deck. Now I have to close this so I can get out. And that's just due to a glitch, but in a few more minutes, this is going to be the bow is going to be going underwater visibly, and you'll actually start to see water rise up over these windows. I can actually temporarily slow the sinking so that actually happens, and I'm going to do that right now so you can see that. Because the ship, if it sinks too quickly, you won't be able to see that. Now, as you can see, now the galley's flooding. I'm going to shut this so that all this area up front can flood. And so then, that way, I can actually control the flooding. We'll get back to there later. But that would be terrifying. I mean, imagine for a minute that the storm knocked out the ship's engines, so we're dead in the water already. That's already noticeable. You can't move. There's still power, so don't think we're not dead. The ship's not dead concerning electricity. Just in engines. It can't move. Which really would be not be a wise option to try and move your ship when it's in this state. Because that would just push more and more water inside the ship. But as you can see, the bow is now going under, slowly. Waves are now crashing over the bow at this point. If this were a truly calm sea, the water wouldn't actually flood in through the well like that. It would actually flood in, I guess, through areas where water is supposed to drain out of the ship. Or, as the ship gets deeper into the water would just flow over the handrails. Now, what if I open this? That gives you an idea as to just how quickly and how much water is coming over. So the water is definitely rising. Because there's the tip of the bow there. And now I'm going to stay right here so you guys can actually watch the ship go down. Because if we wait a few minutes, not only will you see the tip go under, but you start to see the whole front of the ship go under slowly. It's a very slow sinking, but it's meant to be that way. Now at this point, the deck in the front is not coming back out of the water at this time. So that tells you the ship is now getting very heavy in the bow. So the ship is just starting, the water's now, you can visibly see the ship's bow being pulled down. In fact, this shows that list in a far better way than it would looking forward. If you can look down the length of the ship and just see the water disappearing further back, that tells you something bad's is happening. And now, as you can see, the very front of the bow is starting to go under. Like I said, it's very slow. That's the thing. I want the ship to be able to visibly sink, but not sink so fast that you can't actually stay on board and experience it. That's the thing. Longer able to flood. Okay, so now water's flooding the hold via the hatch. Now water's spewing in via the hatch. So that's going to start to visibly pull the ship down now. Now you can see water starting to lap against the windows. Front's going under. The bow, okay, the forward part of the bow is underwater now, mostly. The forward windows are underwater, right up to about the second or third cabin. Now imagine being in the forward part of the ship and not knowing what's going on and looking out and seeing that. That would be terrifying to anybody. But now you can see the water is starting to go up above the windows, and that means the ship will begin to plunge. It's only a very short amount of time now, and then it'll go under. Oh, and also I added the skylight on top of the storage locker there. I forgot to mention that. Sorry. No, I know that's a bit random, so just ignore that. Hey, Virginia Railfan Productions, how are you? But yeah, now you can see the bow is practically underwater at this point, because you can see water here lapping against windows there. It's a running account of this thing sinking. What's going on, Virginia Railfan Productions? I don't think you're doing anything wrong. Okay, so now as you can see, water is definitely flooding this forward hold here. Now I'm going to shut this. Now at this point, what I'm doing would be pretty much what the ship's crew would be doing. And that's just really controlling the flooding as best they can. Now at this point, the doors begin to fail because of the water. So at this point, now water is rushing back. All that's going to do is pull the ship down further. As you can see by this. Water is now rapidly flooding the ship's galley. Now crewmen would be panicking, because the doors can't exactly be shut. Oh wait, yes they can. So let's just say they close it in the nick of time. So that then, it doesn't stop the ship sinking, but it does buy the crew a bit more time. But now, as you can see, the ship is practically underwater at this point. Because there's the surface there, and now we're already about a foot or two underwater. And then I just find it eerie that even when you're inside the ship now, you can see its actual tilt. Just by looking at it from an angle, you can see that it is visibly sinking at this time. Now watch the windows. Oh dear. Now as you can see, this shows just how much of the ship is going under. Shout out to my friend Corrupted Knight, aka Garrett G. Now as you can see by that water glitch there, this sucker is definitely starting to flood substantially. Now see, now this is a glitch. I can't tell if we are truly flooding right now. Now if I open those hatches there, this whole hold will flood it, and then it will visibly pull the ship down. Now I will show that, probably in another live stream. Now before I updated those cabins, to where now that water glitch happens, I would normally actually go and actually open all the cabins up, so that way the water would have other areas to flood. Now there's how much it's flooded the cargo hold so far. Now at this point the crew would be panicking. I would probably be panicking myself. Let's just say, oh God, opens the door, water just cascades in. Now, as you can see, this will start to drain out slowly, but also begin flooding back into the ship. Nice. At least you were able to join the stream, man. Now, at this point, the crew would be stuck at wondering what to do. Now, of course, some doors can be made watertight, but only for so long. So let's just say for a minute here that this door failed. That allows this all to come in at a rather quick rate. Water floods here visibly, it'll then enter through the hatch. That will then in turn, basically, to put it in simpler terms, sink the ship. Let's just say a crewman gets to that though and shuts it. It still won't help though, because really the whole ship is still sinking. And as you can tell, now this is the scenario which is bad. Once this back area goes underwater, as you're seeing, that usually for me means the end of the ship is near. I'm going to seal this back. I'm going to go down and start opening the cabins. And all that will do is simply pull the ship down quicker. Now at this point, this really does mark the ship's end. As now, as you can see, most of the vessel is completely going underwater now. Water's starting to flood back throughout the ship rapidly. And I mean at a very, very rapid pace. Now as you can see, the flooding is equalizing very quickly lower down. But now multiple areas are flooding. Let's just say, because the stairwell would be where the pumps are located. That would be... So once water starts flooding in here, as you can see here, this would be fatal to any ship. Because now, let's just say the water is coming out through the cabins. That's bad. At this point, as you can tell, the bridge is under, which is bad. Now, at this point, now the plunge starts. You've now got water flooding in almost every possible area throughout the ship. The bridge is now going under. The dining room is underwater. The doors that weren't meant to be watertight fail. And then the killer blow comes when the ship's cargo holds fail. That's going to be the death blow. And now at this point, that's when it is all over. The ship just plunges. That's when the final plunge occurs, as you're seeing right now. So since the holds have finally failed, now the ship is visibly going down. Now take note, some areas aren't even flooded yet. This is just due to the fact that there's not enough buoyancy now to keep the ship from sinking at this time. Okay, so now you've got water flooding the dining room, you've got them flooding out of the cabins. And of course I opened that area up. So now as you can see, the ship is visibly going under, and then it basically, as it just gets in less air, that's when it finally goes underwater, as you're seeing right now. So at this point, the ship then just goes under, and then that is pretty much it. There's no longer any buoyancy to keep it afloat. What areas aren't flooded already are pretty much just now practically flooding due to the water pressure alone, as evidenced here. Anyone trapped inside the ship at this point there'd be no hope. They would be dead. So at this point, all lower decks are beginning to flood, rather rapidly, I should say. Now, as you can see, water is now coming in through the cargo hold and ballast compartment. So as you can see, water is now just flooding up slowly. And this is, again, due to water pressure. Now, water is starting to rapidly rise throughout the ship. And as you can see, that door there is now has now got water streaming down it. And I'm trapped in here because, well, obviously. Because now we have water flooding in through the cabin deck, and now that's cascading in and flooding this area. Water's coming in from the stern, all the way up there, through the main propeller shaft area, and then it from the engine room. And then it's also coming in through the bow, too, so that doesn't help your situation much. So in other words, you're screwed, basically. As you can see, pretty much the entire forward half of the ship is flooded at this point. As you can see, the dining room is flooding. Laundry room is now flooding. Water is now pouring out of the cabins due to the insane pressure. Now at this point, this would have already been, in real life, this would have all been completely flooded at this point. Because primarily due to the windows, they would have imploded due to the water pressure. Because it doesn't matter how thick the glass is. It wouldn't be able to stand the kind of pressure that these windows are going through right now. They would have, I mean, pretty much every window, starting from where the lowest area of the ship would have imploded. Which would have caused water to just come gushing in. Like, not even gushing in. The pressure alone would just force it in. And force air out. Heck, the reason we're still up right now is mainly due to the fact that there's still so much of the ship that hasn't flooded fully yet. Of course, now as you can see, the ship is slowly righting itself. But it isn't much, as evident by the list here. And that's mainly because the ship hasn't even touched the bottom yet. But once it equalizes and sets itself down, all this water there is going to be forced back and just start to flood the ship evenly again. Which is about to be exactly what happens. As evidenced here. Now this will only increase flooding, basically. This whole corridor will flood, then the library will flood, then this, and then the infirmary. Power, like, it would have already died at this point. Because once water entered the engine room, you know, that's it. Once water hits the engine room of any ship, that's going to be what instantly kills it. So if you're thinking like what you saw in the Perfect Storm, where after the sword boat flipped over, the power was still going, that wouldn't be true. It would have flooded like it did in real life, but the way it flooded in that movie was how it would have happened in real life. But the power would have died instantly, especially when the ship flipped over, because that would cut fuel to both the engines and the generators being powered by said engines. Now see, the ship is already on the bottom. Now basically those entire lower decks, the 2 decks below this, would have already been completely flooded. There would have been, in real life, the lower decks would have been completely flooded. But as you can see, the ship is definitely on the bottom. I'm using the flashlight tool now when you hit V on the keyboard, but now as you can see, the ship is on the bottom. It has touched down, basically. Well, almost. It's still settling, as you can see there by the dot. Okay, yeah, it's about to come to rest right now. And it has come to rest. Now, as you can see, it is still somewhat bobbing, and that's just due to the last bits of air that are still inside the ship. As you can see, there's water flooding in multiple areas. And those areas are rapidly going under. But this gives you a good idea as to how big this thing is when looking at it from this angle. This really does give you an idea as to the size of the thing in terms of height. But yeah, I figured I'd show the ship. It was also done to save Jesse the trouble of having to make a video, but I would like him to have I hope one day we can do a video of both of us playing on this ship. But, you know, if not, then that's okay. At least I can say I saved him the trouble. So, yeah. That's it for this video. Hasta la vista, baby. Railroad Preserver out. And thank you guys so much for the channel hitting 1,000 subscribers. I couldn't have